Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Gavin. This is my channel. Glad you're here. Of course, you guys know whose channel. I don't know why I say that. I get into habits, I guess. I don't know. But welcome. Here on the channel, we like to cut through the fluff and sensationalism of true crime, try to get into the nitty gritty, try to watch hearings. We try to get into court documents and police files and all that fun stuff. But every once in a while, we just have conversations, and the conversation that we're about to have is with Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. She has done us a huge favor by cutting short her live stream tonight so that she can come on here. Before we welcome Elizabeth to the show, I just want to remind you guys that Baby Gavin is missing. Baby Gavin is missing. And he's left a series of clues in the form of little poems that you have to solve in order to find Baby Gavin. It's a 20 clue thing. It's just for fun. A lot of people have finished. I think the last count is about 19 people have finished so far, which is pretty amazing out of like 450 people that are playing. If you would like to play, head on over to gavinfish.com and click on Treasure Hunt, or there's a link down in the description below. While you're there, click on this little fishy icon right there. That will take you over to the fish tank where we hang out on Facebook. You're always invited to join us on Facebook. I think we're coming up on 5,100 people in the tank, which is pretty cool. So with that out of the way, because I have to do, Elizabeth is watching. She's listening right now. I have to do my shameless self-promotion, Elizabeth. So that is what that is. But I do it all in fun because we have a good time over there at on the fish tank and playing the great 2025 Baby Gavin treasure hunt. He's missing. Got to find him. So go and help me find him. With that, with no further ado, let us, drumroll please, welcome Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. Elizabeth, welcome to the channel.
Hi, thanks, Gavin.
Oh
Love to
my
be
goodness. You have been so busy.
here.
Guys, let me tell you what happens when a new YouTuber comes on the scene that is actually doing some good stuff. People start reaching out. And that is what's happening to Elizabeth. You got a lot of people reaching out to you down there, well, in the area, but specifically in Letcher County, people who are dealing with the court system down there, the legal system. And I guess it's taken you down paths that you never thought you'd go.
That's exactly the truth. Which I always suspected that, we had a ton of women who would be victims of the system. I'm a victim of the system, of the criminal justice system, several times over. But most of the women, you know, find themselves up against a hard, like a rock in a hard place. They
Yeah,
hold your they hold your kids over your head. There's always the threat that they're going to remove your children. They're going to take your kids, and then a lot of women do have their children taken, and to try and get them back is a nightmare. They just try and make you jump through these hoops that seem to be setting you up for failure. The
yeah.
hoops are way too high. There's no way to be able to jump through them.
So for those of you that don't know what's happening in Letcher County, back in, oh goodness, September? Is that what it was? Back in
For what?
September, a man named Sheriff Mickey Stines walks into the chamber of Judge Kevin Mullins. There's actually a question mark about that word chamber, but anyway, walks into the room where Kevin Mullins was and excuses everybody out of the room. And after a few minutes of chatting with Judge Mullins, draws his service weapon and shoots Judge Mullins 8 times, kills him. He is now on trial for the murder of Judge Kevin Mullins. But this is all has to do, or it all seems to have started with a federal lawsuit filed. Uh, it's a civil rights lawsuit alleging that then Deputy Ben Fields was essaying women who were coming through the courtroom for the purpose of getting like an ankle monitor on. He was asking them to trade sexual favors in order for leniency. And part of that lawsuit was that Mickey Stines either knew about it or should have known about it. Now, what's been happening recently, Elizabeth, maybe you can share this with us yourself, but people have been coming out of the woodwork. It's not just the women who are known about that led to Mr. Fields' conviction, and it's not just the women, Sabrina Adkins and Jennifer Hill, the late Jennifer Hill, who have filed a lawsuit against Ben Fields and Mickey Stines. It seems now there are more that are saying, "Yeah, the same thing happened to me." Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
So what happened? Who are the people that are coming out of the woodwork?
Well, so one of the women, she is our very first one that has put her face out there. Other than now, we did have one last year. Now, she was really the very first one that came out and said, years ago, this happened in Judge Mullins, chambers, and this happened to me by Judge Mullins. And the next thing you knew, she was losing her job. She had a management position at a local store here in the area, and was in recovery. She was doing really, really well. And the next thing you knew, she was fired from her job. And then there were accusations that she had stolen money from her job. And whenever they went to go speak to the prosecutor, who happened to be Judge Mullins' brother in law, he said that he had every single one of her TikTok videos recorded and that she had embarrassed his niece and nephew and she had hurt his niece and nephew. And he was going to make it his personal mission, allegedly, to make sure she served every bit of 15 years in prison. She had to take down all of her videos that she had done, and she just took a plea bargain for probation because she couldn't fight it.
Okay.
They went and looked through the video. What I think they did was they went and they looked through the video until they could find a piece of a video that you really couldn't tell what was happening. And then I think they used that to say that's when it happened. But remember, you've got her employer, you've got her former employer there. Was there pressure put on them to say, we want her, we want, I mean, I don't know, but that's what it seems like to me. And I know that they are not above it.
What is there's another woman now that has bravely, in my opinion,
Yeah.
come forward and said, "Yeah, this happened to me," and Judge at the hand, so to speak, of Judge Mullins. What is she saying?
Well, she is a victim several different ways. She said she was allegedly assaulted by Judge Mullins in his office a long time ago, that she was then ushered into sex work for that group, you know, and which I've heard rumors and I have spoken to other people, so I've said it I say it all the time. The game stays the same. The only thing that seems to change are the players.
Yeah,
Uh,
the the I don't think she names members of that group, right? She just says like Letcher County higher ups, or does she
it's two
name?
of them. She names two of them. Yeah, but truth is the truth. You
Yeah,
know, like people, if you are the victim, then you shouldn't be silenced and shamed and threatened to keep quiet. And it's that. um I mean, where do people think they're going to get their healing from? you know like, these people have to be able to heal. One of the things, are you going to play any of her video?
I don't think so. Not to, I mean, guys, go over to Hillbilly Crime. She
Yeah.
has played it. Go and do that, and there is a link in the description below. I really just want to talk about it. What it is that she's saying. But she's I think she said she started at like 16 years old. Is that correct?
I
It
don't
kind of
remember. I
felt
don't
weird because
think.
she said 16 and then she's like a couple years ago and I went, "Well, you were not 18." you know, so it
I think maybe that was a misspeak, or
oh,
she
okay.
the videos that she put together, you can tell, like she's did a piece, and then she's done a piece, and then she's done a piece, and she's pieced them together.
Yeah.
You know, she's doing her best. One thing that I would really like to say about um, a lot of these women is they have no money. They have zero money. They have zero income trying to get a job around here. I have said repeatedly that that's why my show is successful, and that's why I am pretty much okay doing it, because I don't work for anybody. They can't put pressure on my boss. They
Yeah.
cannot take my income from me. They don't own my home, so nobody can put me out. But a lot of these women are not in that same kind of position. I will and can afford an attorney if I had to have one, um, and my mother would help me if I needed the money.
Yeah.
A lot of these people don't have that. And what we're finding is, when you can't even trust your own defense attorneys, when you can't trust the defense attorneys in your area not to sell you out for the betterment of what would be better for them and their jobs and their position in the legal system, where else do you turn? Like,
Well,
she tells in one of those videos that she was supposed to have 7.5 year sentence. She gets to prison and finds out that they have given her 12.5 years. And when she goes to try and find legal aid, to try and fix this and see what happened, they're like, well, it's done been filed now. There's nothing you can do about it. And so she sat there and served an extra 5 years in Pee Wee Valley Prison.
the I think you make a very good point. Okay, so we're talking about the allegations against Judge Mullins and Mickey Stines and a group of very powerful people in Letcher County is that they were basically using this, I'm going to say, class of uh, class of people within Letcher County that were having some interaction with the legal system, whether that had to do with addiction, drug charges, or any of the charges that come out of the desperation of addiction, those kinds of things. They would get in through the court, they would get into the system. Sometimes, many times, it'd be their second, third, fourth, ninth time, right? Sometimes these are very petty things. And I'm not like condoning criminal behavior, but we also need to understand what addiction does to people. Right? And anyway, they're getting into the legal system. They're coming before Judge Mullins. They're going into the jail, and this group of women, from all I can tell, it's been women, then
Yeah,
become the group of people that become their sexual toys. Oh, well, they also become income, right? Through ARC and through all that stuff, right? But
yep,
specifically to the allegations of SA, I mean that's what people are complaining about. Sabrina Atkins, her complaint, or let's see, in her proffer when she was being interviewed by the AG's office, she she alleged that Ben Fields had done this to her, but she had also seen video evidence of the same kind of thing happening to her at the hand of like Judge Mullins and others. Now, there was never any proof of that was published that we know about, but that allegation was there. And now, I mean, a lot of people have come forward saying, I don't want my name in this. I want to remain anonymous on this, but I want to let you know it happened to me too. And here are the the details. And it's just been a couple of women who've said, yeah, I'm going to do it publicly. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a, I think it's men. I don't think that any of the names that I've seen, I don't think there have been any women in the cartel of folks that are that are doling out the abuse? I think it's all men so far. Have you heard of any women?
Well,
I mean, there
you
might be
know,
some
yeah,
supporting characters or something.
yeah, Ben's wife, Angie Fields, was accused of beating up one of the girls who had
Mm,
slept with Ben.
right.
Um, there have been a lot of accusations of physical abuse and within that jail.
Yeah. So,
A
and
lot.
the problem with jails is that there's no oversight of jails except by a few, a few people who usually are in a
Yeah,
position of power.
yeah.
I mean, that's why they're on the prison board or on the jail board, right?
Who's policing the police?
Yeah. Is there anybody in Kentucky?
Yeah, our fiscal court is over our jail and our jailer. It is their responsibility to do surprise inspections. It is their responsibility to do walkthroughs of the jail, and then they are to recommend to the jailer or to the whatever what they think improvements or fixes and stuff like that. And my question is, when was the last time our fiscal court walked through our Letcher County jail, and when was the last time that they made a recommendation, and what was that recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, do they do those meetings in public? Do
Well,
they?
they do fiscal court meetings in public, but now regarding the jail, I don't know. They
Yeah.
used to have our fiscal court meetings in the evenings so people could um, come, but now they've changed it to like 10 a.m. on a Monday when everybody's at work.
Everybody's working.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're not dummies.
Yeah. What else is this person? I don't want to. I just don't want to. It's not that I don't want to say her name or anything like that. I don't know if I don't know if I'd be helping her, but I mean, she's public, I guess, right? She's saying who
Yeah,
she is. Okay,
I'll say your name.
let's say it. What's her name?
Her name is Taya Adams, and her TikTok, and she's got a TikTok out. She's got a YouTube, and she has a Facebook, but she is just now starting them. Like she had 38 subscribers on her TikTok when I looked at it the other day, or last night. So she could use all the help. One of the big things that I brought to you several days ago was that, these women, one of the things that people around this area are a little bit slow to catching on is the social media and the way that you can use it to support yourself financially.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want to teach these women, which I don't know a whole lot. I'm self-taught. I've just kind of trial and error. I've
Yeah.
learned how to support myself through my channel. And I will gladly share any knowledge that I have with them to try and get their channels up and going. So that way they can support themselves through this, through their channels,
You
and
know,
the way.
I made a offer to the local chamber of commerce to do a class like that because we live in a economically depressed area out here in Western PA, where it's full on rust belt out here. A lot of people don't have very good prospects for work, and so I mean, here I am sitting in an office making a living. Uh, you know, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's it's
Yeah.
hard work for sure. It's definitely hard work,
Oh
but
yeah.
I offered that same kind of thing and just have been completely ghosted by the
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce. I'm like, can you just host me and I will help this?
I tell you why. Because so many of the people that are on those boards and stuff, they are older. They are not of the new generations they're used to the technology and the way that it has advanced. Um, I feel like our local newspapers are very territorial. One of them refuses to say my name. He At first he came out and took some digs at me and my show and a couple of these articles when I first started my show, and now he just refuses to even mention me, even with this dog fiasco. And it's like this is my job. My job is to give the information to our people. You know, what you're doing is not news. You know what I mean?
You're right. It's not. Leave me
That's
alone.
right.
Does
That's right.
is that
They're just,
publication? Does it have the initials of ME?
yes.
Yeah. He reached out to me and asked me. He's like, "Hey, if Elizabeth is ever on your show and she mentions something that is written in my publication, I would really like you to say which publication it is." I mean, you know what? Sure, I'll do that. I would want that for me. I mean, I wouldn't reach out to somebody and ask for it, but okay, yeah, I'll do that. If we ever talk about another article, we'll be sure to
Isn't
mention
that
where it's
interesting?
from. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? But yet, oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
I'm so dangerous, fish. I'm such a bad person.
well, you're a danger to the status quo for sure. I know that you're being a little snarky and a little sarcastic there, but you are a danger to the status quo for
Well,
sure.
that's what we're wanting to do. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty funny. Well, what do you think? What do you think is going to come of Taya? How do you think this is going to end for her?
I think she is going. I think this is going to be like Bill Cosby. That's what I'm looking for. I always kind of knew it, or I felt it. That once we had a first couple come forward, they'll fall out of the woodwork then because there's safety in numbers. You know, when you're by yourself, you're a target.
Yeah,
And we've all been targets this whole time. You know, this is one reason why this stuff is resonating with people because nobody can ever get anything done when they need it, you know, unless you have a back scratcher, you know, somebody's back to
yeah.
scratch, you know,
What
scratch.
is what is Taya's story? Can you tell me like her background? What is the story?
She got in trouble. She tells her story in one of those videos. She got arrested and charged with selling one Suboxone strip.
Did
That's
they
what she,
call that? What did they call that? Like
I guess, trafficking.
trafficking?
Now, that's what I take every day. I take two every morning that I get up. But she says that they had sent somebody wired. They sent an informant in trying to buy a Suboxone from her. And she said they were like, no, no, we're not messing with you. Go away. Leave us alone. We don't know. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. Go. And she said they ended up going up on the top of the mountain somewhere and said, here she comes. She shows up again. And she said she's begging her. I know you know what it's like to be dope sick. I know it. I know you know what it's like. And please, please. And she just went on and on and on. She said, finally, she said, I just gave it to her. I was like, here, just go and leave us alone. Please, just leave us alone. She said, and then it shows the girl um, shooting up with a needle on camera on the same video that they
Okay,
used to convict her. And apparently that's what they,
that's what got her in there.
yeah. Now I'm sure she probably had other charges at
Sure.
other times, you know, but that I think is the one that really that they used to screw her, you know, and then I'm sure she's got other things. But listen, I want to be very clear on this. This is why they choose people that have, um, you know, some run-ins and has some, you know, addiction issues because then it's their word against mine. I'm a
Y-
respect.
You're
Love.
talking. You're talking about like this is why they're chosen for the abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, Appalachian Dreamer, that is Taya. She's
Yes.
in the chat. So,
Her.
guys, go check out her channel here on YouTube, and I'm sure there will be links over to her other social media. But yeah, I mean, uh, I shared with you, Elizabeth, that I've Okay. One of my OGs is a woman named Jamie. She's in the chat pretty frequently. She's my admin of the fish tank. Her name's Jamie. And Jamie is an activist out here in Western Pennsylvania, and she just, oh, she's got a fascinating story, but and I don't want to belabor this, but to her, one of her personal crusades is to care for the inmates in her county, in Venango County, Pennsylvania.
Yep. Mhm.
And so for the last 3 years, I have been looking at the Venango County Jail. I have interviewed COs, former COs. I had an interview with the warden. I mean, I'm pretty friendly acquaintances with two of the three um, county commissioners out here who also sit on the prison board. I'm pretty friendly with the sheriff. He's the president of the prison board. Um, yeah, I'm pretty friendly with these guys, but even that can't get me any access to anything having to do with the prison. Like it is this in 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 Pennsylvania, we call our county jails prisons, and we call our prisons SCIs for some reason. So when I say prison, it's a county jail, right? It's a little building in the middle of like Franklin, Pennsylvania, right? It's a little place. Uh, so anyway, yeah, there's this secrecy shroud over the jail, and and I can see how a person could easily be abused. I mean, um, I had one woman who served like 60 days in jail say that she was personally like felt up by a male guard just because he like walked up to her, put his hand under her shirt, and completely felt her up. He was on camera, you know,
Yep.
there were cameras pointed all over the place,
Yep.
and then I start talking to a couple COs. Does that even seem plausible to you? Yes, 100%. Did I
No
see
hesitation.
that particular one happen, Gavin? No, but I've seen it 100 times. You know, so when there's like this pattern, when everybody's starting to say the same thing to you, you see a pattern, right?
Yeah.
And so I can see how easy it is for people, especially those that have no credibility in society. They're drug addicts. They've got theft convictions. They've lost their children. They're deadbeat parents. You know, you know, quote unquote, those kinds of things, right? They have no credibility in society. Those people are rife for abuse.
Yep, they don't matter. There's nobody, they don't have family members on the outside, that will fight for them. Like I get my, um, I don't even know what the word is, but whatever it is, I guess maybe spirit. I get it from my mommy. There were times where I saw her jerk a principal across his desk by his shirt collar because he was trying to suspend me after I had been felt up by two little boys in Benham Elementary School.
Mm.
Nobody would do anything. When I told the teachers, they said, just go sit down, be quiet. And I was just devastated. Two boys threw me up against a locker in the hallway and felt all over my body, and I was in fifth grade.
Oh.
So I left school. Like nobody would do anything. So I walked out of my school and I walked home. And the principal followed me home and to see where I lived, and stuff. And he came up on the porch and he knocked on the door, but there wasn't nobody there. And so mommy had to come home from Eastern. She was off getting her master's degree. And she had to come home and deal with, but those were the kinds of things I was always getting in trouble for, like stuff. I was already challenging that status quo back
Well,
then.
but what's interesting is that if that happened once and nobody did anything about it,
Yeah.
then the next time it happened, the adults would say, "Oh, she's making things up," because nothing came of the last one,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so
I never thought
that
that.
credibility, that credibility goes away, even though like you didn't do anything to deserve that, but that's the way it works.
But my mommy went all to pieces, taking up for me, and she's always been that way for me. And she's instilled that in me, I guess. And, she would do it for a complete stranger as well. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Maybe, in her old age, she's probably learned she might not do it now for just
She's
about
tempered
it.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, my fire's still burning strong. So,
Well, I hope that more come out and take you up on your offer to learn how to like blare it from the rooftops.
yeah, they
'Cause-
need their own channels. And it's even like little stuff. Like I told Taya yesterday, set your phone up in the morning and video yourself getting your coffee in the morning. Just do a 15-second video, throw it up on TikTok, and let TikTok choose a song to it. Just little stuff like that is going to, that's just it's content, but it's going to, help your channel grow. Not everything that you post has to be, um, so on your story. And I mean that for me too. Like not everything we do has to be so
yeah,
serious.
yeah.
We can do some little. I'm no comedian, but I laugh all the time, so I try to do little humorous things, and I think that I have a plan in my head. God has given me a roadmap, and I'm just willing to follow it. I'm going to obey Him as best I can, and hope I don't get in the way, and hope I don't mess nothing up.
Well, you're jamming. You're doing a good job. I really hope there is an avalanche of like a Harvey Weinstein kind of thing happening. I
I do
really
too.
do.
Well,
'Cause-
speaking of not Weinstein, but Epstein,
mhm.
you know, this little girl was on S Watch, 15 every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
She should have been checked on, and that I just find it very similar to Epstein's death.
Oh, she talks about a girl who.
Lexi Bentley, yes. Lexi Bentley was taken out of the Letcher County Jail, sent to the Hazard Psych Ward on self harm watch, and she was supposed to be checked every 15 minutes. And the nurse who was supposedly guarding her decided, allegedly, that it was a good time to go down to the store. So her boyfriend come picked her up, and I've spoken to her boyfriend yesterday, as a matter of fact. He said we didn't even get to the red light, and the hospital was calling saying, "Where are you at? You better get back here." She was already dead. And they said that she, with a sheet. If you're in a psych ward in the hospital on S Watch, where do you get a sheet from?
Yeah, they should be in a turtle suit or something like that, right? And that's about
There's
it.
nothing. There's nothing that sounds right about that. Nothing. And she was Taya's friend, and she was in jail with Taya, and they were all in a fight. In a fight, they were involved in a fight in the cell right next to the guard shack, and they charged them all with kidnapping. They charged them all with a ton of like very bad charges for a fight.
What do you think? Like, if say Taya is the beginning of an avalanche of women coming out, and
Hopefully,
now they have an uphill battle because
yeah,
of the whole credibility issue, right? But the more, actually, if I can just give advice to
yeah,
anybody who is in jail, who has been in jail, who thinks they might be in jail again, you got to keep receipts, man. You've just got to keep receipts. You got to keep a journal. You've got to tell people. You've and and I understand that there are consequences. Like there are some women that I've talked to where they allege that they were essayed by the deputy warden. Well, just so happens that when that woman was setting up to send in her PREA complaint, which in Pennsylvania it's like basically it's an anti-grape in prison law. There is a phone in every single jail, prison, institute in Pennsylvania that you are supposed to be able to pick up and call and report what happened to you. Nothing but busy signals. Picked up the phone, busy signals. Picked up the phone, it would ring and ring and ring and ring and ring. Pick up the phone, it would ring and say disconnected. Then the the electronic typewritten way to send it in just magically went down too. So she had to write it out on paper. Guess who that was submitted to? Her
The one.
abuser.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, it's just
And what do
so.
you think happened to her after he read that?
Well,
Did she stay?
she got charges for false report.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, but like even knowing that, you still got to do it. You've still got to fight, and you've got to keep those kinds of receipts. Like even if you, and I recognize a pattern within these county jails that you may go in there feeling very good about yourself, and 3 weeks later want to end it all.
Yeah.
That's an actual thing.
Yes.
Um, so
One day.
yeah, so I recognize that you may not be able to do it when you're in, but the day you get out, man, you gotta get a phone and make a recording. You gotta tell it. You've just got to document it all.
Taya said that when they were in there, they were put in for 8 months. They didn't even have a mat on the concrete floor. They were on the concrete floor for 8 months without even a bed. That was one of their punishments. Um, the when they did get a mat, all it was the shell. So you got a little plastic piece. And she said that girls would try to put cardboard in there. They would try to put little pieces of clothing, like ripped up clothing, just anything that they could find to fill in that mat. Um,
Just for some sort of padding.
yeah, just for some sort of padding. And I've been in those jails. I know how hard I mean, it's a concrete floor,
Yeah.
like pure concrete. That's hurt. That's very pain. And you get, us women, some of us are, some of those people in there are old. Like, there is no way that they should be, I don't care what they did. And you're talking about a lot of these are like possession charges. A lot of people
Yeah.
in jail for possession of some kind of a substance. But yet this county is supposed to be the one that's, you know, doing all this good for addicts, for people in addiction.
Listen,
Uh,
I am all for prosecuting drug offenses. I'm all for prosecuting drug offenses, but if you're doing stings for a Suboxone tab,
yeah.
um no, maybe go after dealers, go after
How about the
distributors.
sex offenders and the sex abusers?
Yeah.
But yet our prosecutors are letting them go with not one day in jail. Patrick Little case. I'll not let that go. He was accused. Grand jury indicted him on 44 counts, abusing one child under the age of 12, the other child under the age of 16. They were siblings, and
This is
they gave.
Letcher County.
Yes, he was Judge Mullins's buddy. So, brother-in-law, uh, Matt Butler, who's our prosecutor now, was his defense attorney when he was charged with these charges. Well, then he gets appointed to the prosecutor. I never found a withdrawal, so I never see. I put in two public records requests. The first one that I put in with the Attorney General's office, there were no records. There was nothing existed. So that I never could find his withdrawal where he withdrew as his defense attorney. And I never could find a recusal because no way could he then prosecute this case after he was the defense attorney when he was charged, right?
Yeah.
So, no, he goes ahead, and what it looks like to me is that him, Jamie Hatton, and the rest of them negotiated his plea bargain for no jail time. 5 years, house arrest, and work release. Did not serve one day in jail. And then whenever
47 counts.
44,
44
and
counts.
they dismissed everything but two counts. So they give him one count of sex abuse and one count of unlawful transaction with a minor. This is his plea bargain. He's going to serve 5 years, no jail time, house arrest and work release. But then in July, he signed the plea bargain in February. In July, the Safer Kentucky Act went into effect, which turned his unlawful transaction with a minor charge into a violent felony. People who are on violent felonies, according to the Safer Kentucky Act, are no longer able to have, they're not eligible for any recommended sentencing. So,
Okay.
what do you do? Well, then after I tell it all on my show and I do a show on it, then he sends in a recusal to the Attorney General's office, and he just lets the Attorney General's office know that he's already picked his replacement. No need to worry, Attorney General. Bill Sloan's already agreed to take the case. So one of my sources out of Pikeville says that by the time prosecutor Bill Sloan gets this case, it's right before sentencing.
Yeah.
Letcher County is the one that did the whole plea and all this mess. By the time Bill Sloan gets this case, allegedly he says that it is so messed up, he's afraid to even touch it. So he just pushes it on through, because if he touches it, it's going to go all to pieces. So he just pushes it right on through. And the judge agrees with it, okays the sentence. But yet, somebody like,
Meantime, Taya gets 12 and a half years
yeah, 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 yeah,
for a
exactly,
Suboxone tab.
exactly. Where's the sense? Where does any of this make sense? But people like me that bring this stuff up and talk about it, we're the troublemakers.
Well, it is disturbing. What do you think this all means for Mickey? Like, if people are coming out of the woodwork, what do you think this means for Mickey Stines?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what I think it means. I think it means that uh, killing the judge was better than what would end up coming out. I mean, he was
Oh,
getting ready to retire. He could have just walked away and never looked back, but he didn't.
what made him think that anything was going to come out though? I mean, that kept that secret for so long. Just
Well,
the lawsuit from Sabrina and Jennifer?
I've heard that there have been many investigations that the public is not quite aware of. So, according to some of my sources, the feds have been here for a long time.
Hmm.
He could have been getting And remember, this was before Mullins was shot and killed. So they were, there was some stuff going on. Plus, there have been reports. I've had a couple different people, two different sources that are not related. And they've both told me that last year, well, maybe not last year, I guess it would have been maybe the year before last. It was before Mullins was shot, obviously. But they both said, we know what feds look like. We know what the
They have the
feds
same haircut. Yeah.
know what the feds look like. When they come up in here, yeah, we can pretty much tell them, who they are. And
Wow.
said that they came in and they took Mullins, allegedly, they took Mullins right off the bench while he was in court and left with him. And he was gone for 2 days. And whenever he came back, he went right back up on the bench and nobody ever said a word. Nobody asked any questions. Nobody talked about it. So it makes me wonder, was Judge Mullins talking to somebody?
Yeah, how long before his murder did that happen, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Huh.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because this all comes down to,
Did Mickey think that Mullins was going to turn on him? Could that be a possibility? I don't know.
well, I mean, his story is that he feared for his wife and daughter. That's the story. So tell me what you think about that story now.
Well, that's the story that we were told by the detective. We never heard Mickey say that.
Have we not heard Mickey say that? In the body cam video? I guess you're right. I guess he never does.
Talking
He
about himself.
He's talking about himself. Yeah.
Now, Jeremy Bartley has said that, but we didn't hear Mickey say it.
Wow. Let me see what people are saying on the chat here. You know what's funny is when I am alone talking, just talking, I get so many people putting the little GF in, tons of stuff for me to read. Right? When you're on, people are just like, I'll just watch this, and I'm not gonna type a single comment.
That's funny.
They just so there's like nothing here. However, I should say that there are a few people. Thank you so much for the super chats. We've got let's see. We've got Susan Lewis, who takes care of me, saying happy Monday, Gavin and Elizabeth. We love you both. Roz Rodriguez giving us a little fishy super sticker, and Teresa Warner as well. Thank you guys for that. But it's so funny, Elizabeth, when I come through the live chat, there is very little, very, everybody just likes to listen to you. That's great. That's great.
I hope that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. Well, I enjoy having you on too. I like having discussions like this. It's that little, you know what? The issue is that Letcher County, we might feel like it is an island unto itself, the only one in the fruited plains where there's behavior like this. But I'm seeing it like I don't want to point any fingers in my county because I don't have any proof on anybody in my county, but the stories are similar,
Yeah.
right? The stories are similar. Now, I will give the benefit of the doubt that I'm sorry if somebody is not credible, I do have to take that into consideration. But I will listen to them. I'll talk to them. I'll talk to other people. I'll try to get corroboration, and oftentimes I get that, right? But the truth about what is happening is probably somewhere in the middle of what we're being told and what my conspiracy theory is. There's probably something in the middle where the truth is, but it's still bad. It's still really really bad.
Well, it's perspective. You said this before we came on tonight. You said, I've never been in jail.
Yes,
My perspective is going to be different from somebody who has spent lots of time in jail,
that's
you
true.
know? Um, and I hate to say this because I'm no big uh, bra burning feminist or nothing,
Yeah.
okay? But it's the difference between men and women. Do you remember the first time me and you both, I think, were on with Surviving the Survivor, and
Over
Ned
with Joel.
Tillerson, yeah,
Okay.
and Ned
Yeah.
Tillerson was on with us,
Hmm.
and I was the only woman, and there were like 4 or 5 men, but you were there. I'm pretty sure. I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
so.
you
Yeah.
were. Okay. And by the end of the show, everybody, it was like, I'll tell you how I felt very isolated because all of you guys were having like a bromance. And by the end of the show, Ned was like, oh, Ned's this great attorney and he's this and he's that. Nobody knew if he was a good attorney or not. He was just a licensed attorney with a big name and big story and this and that. I think it might have been his first time on there, but maybe not. He could have been on there before. But I felt set, but I don't know. By the time I got off of there, I was just like,
Yeah.
because I felt by myself, like
Well,
I didn't
in
think I
in our
understood.
defense, and this is not a good defense. I think Joel has a crush on me. I'm pretty sure Joel has a crush on me. Okay.
I love Joel. I'm not criticizing y'all at all. I'm just saying where there
But
was
yeah.
men, more than one man together, and
Yeah.
it turned into like a bromance. And I
Yeah.
think about the sheriff's department. Think of our Lecher County Sheriff's Department. You got Mickey Stines, Ben Fields, and all these others that are creating this chat, this work chat that
Oh
ends up
yeah.
so immature and it like they had crushes on each other, kind of, you
Yeah.
know, weird stuff, like this weirdo stuff.
You know what's
You know,
funny about that is like, how do I say this without being or sounding like I am just a total like chauvinist here? But yeah, I've worked in companies where Like, I have coworkers of both genders that I deeply admire, respect, and like,
Yeah,
but a couple of us dudes, we really hit it off, right? And there's that kind of dude clique that happens. I've never been in a clique that involved somebody of the opposite sex. I never have. I mean,
yeah.
maybe my clique with Kimberly counts. I don't know if we call that a clique though. That's like a deeply
No, it
committed
doesn't.
relationship, right? But
Yeah,
but you know what
no,
I mean? I mean, I wonder if that's just kind of a natural thing. Um, I mean, I'm getting sidetracked on here because I don't want to be like that, but I think that does happen.
it does. And you just apply that to our criminal justice system where it's all men. And it's all older men who, 20 years ago, they weren't keeping this stuff secret, honey. They were proud. They were out. They were loud, and they were proud
Yeah,
of what kind of perverts they were.
yeah,
They that was a macho thing, it was macho. They wanted everybody to look up to them. They thought they were the cool kids. They had no idea that 20 years later, technology was going to, you know, come up to bite them. Like all this stuff that they've been doing, that they were doing 20 years ago was criminal. This is
yes.
criminal. It's organized crime.
It's a cartel. That's what it
Yes,
is.
yes, a legal one.
Yes. No, that's yeah. I mean, I keep coming back in my mind to just how brave it was for Sabrina Atkins and Jennifer Hill to say, "I'm going to talk to a lawyer about this,"
So let me explain how that went.
or however that went.
I found out recently. So
Okay.
Sabrina was in the Letcher County Jail,
Okay.
and she ended up getting a very bad yeast infection. And she kept asking to go to the doctor. She kept asking for treatment. They kept refusing her treatment. Finally, it was so bad that she just could not take it no more. And whenever allegedly the jailer came into the cell one day just on one of his checks, I heard that she dropped her pants to her ankles and begged him to take her to the hospital. With it smacked right dab in his face, they could not deny it any longer. So he took her to the hospital. And allegedly, a nurse at the hospital put the name and number of Bethany Baxter in her hand because she was in such bad shape. The conditions of the jail were so bad. That was what she originally, from what my understanding was, that is how all of this started. She
Bethany
reached out.
Baxter is the same law firm as Ned Pillersdorf. Is that right?
Well, I'm not really sure. This lady was from Lexington, and from what I found out, whenever Sabrina called her, the lady drove all the way down here from Lexington. I've heard that was really, really good to Sabrina, and she was the one who really got this going. Now, I don't know. I don't think she's part of Ned's
Okay.
um, firm. Now, I have said for quite some time now that I'm afraid her civil suit's going to be dismissed, and I think it's going to be dismissed because of a lot of errors. I'm no lawyer, but I think that there were some errors that were made. I think by not naming Judge Mullins in his official capacity, not naming the jail, Angie Fields for taking the all of the payments. I think there were several other people that should have been named, and I also think that Mickey Stines should have been named in his individual capacity because now they've replaced him with the new sheriff.
That could still happen though. They could add they could make those amendments,
Well,
those
hopeful,
charges.
hopeful, but we're afraid. We're afraid that that civil suit is going to be dismissed. And from what I've found out recently, Miss Baxter has taken another job, so she is no longer on the case. And Ned Pillersdorf is off on his campaign to
Yeah, he's
run.
running for the Senate, right?
Yeah.
State
So
Senate or U.S.
yeah,
Senate?
no, he was running. He's running against Hal Rogers,
Okay.
Kentucky's Hal Rogers. So I have heard that poor Sabrina's had to file a couple of her own filings, court filings.
Hmm.
Um, so, she hasn't, from what I've understood, she has not had a great deal of support or resources. Her life has been turned upside down since this whole thing has started. Kids can't get jobs. She can't get a job. Bless her heart. And she's the hero. You know,
Oh yeah.
Sabrina Sabrina's the hero of all of this.
Yes.
And um and I will share this too. Not just applied to Sabrina, but a lot of these, I think one of the biggest parts of this story that's being completely overlooked is the grooming process. Um, I cannot tell you how many times I have heard a couple people say, I thought he was my friend. I
Oh
thought
yeah.
I thought he cared about me. I didn't have anybody in the world that cared about me.
Yeah.
I thought he did. I thought I had the best thing going there for a minute. He was telling me where all the best dope was. He was telling me where the roadblocks were. He was telling me who was ratting, so who to stay away from. And I couldn't see my kids, and I couldn't leave the county. So all of a sudden, if I start sleeping with this guy, he's going to let me do all these things.
Yeah.
And then it ends up,
Well,
but
that is the power imbalance. That's what makes it institutional SA.
the
That's
grooming process is where they make them think that they're your friend. And so
yes.
then whenever all this goes down, the victim is the only one saying, man, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm telling this. I'm
I can't
betraying.
tell you how many times I have heard that from somebody who
Yes.
who's like, I don't want to hurt so and so's feelings by telling you this. Like, so and so's your prosecutor. Well, your so and so's your
Yes.
abuser. What do you
Yes.
mean you don't want to hurt their feelings? But they feel that deeply, right? They have been groomed to
I
to
don't
feel
want to
that.
hurt. I don't want to hurt their wife. I don't want to hurt their family. Sabrina said that in her interview to the cop, to the attorney general's office, that she was sorry for his wife, that she felt so bad for his wife. I mean, these people, I don't have the words, Gavin. I don't have the words. They're shameless. They're shameless. Like, if I could never lay my head down at night and go to sleep knowing that I had done this to somebody and that I'm going to do it again tomorrow.
Well, and I think they become desensitized to it. I honestly wonder if they even realize just just how bad this is. Right? Like
No,
when the AGs when what's his name
because you don't have the attorney general or anybody saying to them, they don't have no fear.
yeah,
Everybody's like,
what was the AG's investigator's name? Mark something? What was his name?
that's Easter.
Matt Easter. Yeah, okay, so when Ben Fields was talking with Detective Easter, and Easter's like, "Hey buddy, we all have problems. You can come out and say it, it was like that kind of thing." Dude, Ben was full on like, "Oh, he gets me." Right?
Yeah,
And he full on like he admits to it as if he doesn't realize that he, he is the R word, right? He is that's what he is. I
but
I I think
that guy fed him everything he needed to say, though, for them to be able to get that plea bargain as the way that they did. He's, you didn't force her. Yeah, buddy, I know. I knew as soon as I looked at you, man, you weren't the kind of guy to force no woman. Oh, I know, man. I've done it too. I've done it myself. He gave him, he led him right in just enough to say, just enough to admit. But that detective is the one who guided that
Yeah,
confession.
you and I do disagree on Detective Easter a little bit, and I can tell that you are committed to your position, and bravo for being that way. I think that it was probably just very good police technique to guide him down that route to get it. But I
Well,
mean,
the sentencing is what tells the tale. Yes, he got the confession. I know that's a technique. I know that it is. But the sentencing is what tells the tale. They got that plea bargain and he got a 6 month sentence. That's it.
for essaying three women,
Yes.
yeah, you're
And
right.
there was no investigation that was furthered. It was like, you give us Ben. You make sure we get Ben. Rest of them, we'll leave them alone.
Then it's done.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, yeah,
I
you're
mean,
not wrong about that.
it's just my opinion, and everybody's got one.
Sure. Sure. No, I mean, yeah, you make a valid point there. I do have to, but the incentive is aligned for any prosecutor to take a plea. They never want to go to trial. They never, ever, ever, ever want to go to trial, ever. It's like we read about trial attorneys. Dude, famous trial attorneys have all of about three trials in their entire career, right? They're not, it doesn't, it doesn't happen. Everybody wants to avoid a trial, including the prosecution. It's, anyway, so interesting. Well, I do hope that Taya is the beginning. I hope it's the stream that causes everything to come loose and that a lot of women come out. Hey, by the way, if you are not talking to you, Elizabeth, to the audience, if you are a victim in Letcher County, or, well, in Letcher County, let's say, and you're not comfortable uh, coming on the record, Elizabeth is a friendly face that you can reach out to. I'm a friendly face that albeit hairier, that you can reach out to, and we will keep confidence and help you along your path if you want it. That's I hope that goes without saying. I just volunteered you, Elizabeth. Okay, well, we've been at it for about an hour here. So, anything else that you can think of that we want to say before we call it a night?
Well, there's a lady producer who's getting ready to do a documentary
Yeah,
on all of this, and I've spoken with her a little bit, and she's given me an anonymous tip line that they've got for any victims, anybody who's been a victim of the system or sexual assault, whatever. So I'm going to be sharing that. I haven't shared it yet. I've just been so basket casey the
yeah,
last couple of weeks. I ain't got it out yet, but so they're going to be doing that, and I'm really kind of I'm optimistic about this because she is a woman, and one of the things that she said was that she could tell that the shooting with Mickey and the judge was the smoke that kind of got everybody's attention. The real story is the corruption and the nepotism and all of this that has kind of been woven into the fabric
yeah.
of Letcher County for generations. And as soon as she said that to me, I was like, "You're my girl." Oh yeah.
What you guys? I'm the worst true crime fan. I forget names all the time. What is the name of that family of super powerful lawyers down in? I think that was South Carolina. That, like,
Murdoch.
yeah, the Murdochs, right? I think that I think small towns have a. It's like a built-in feature. Okay, once somebody has power, they have the power to bring people into that power.
Yep.
And there isn't a lot of people that you can choose from. I mean, in a town, well, in a county my size, my entire county is 30,000 people. It's not very many people, right? That means that there's probably 30 people who really want to do any of that stuff, right? And so they're able to latch onto that power and keep it generationally. I think that's a feature of small towns. Like if you're in a big place, then you've got a lot of wolves fighting over the same carcass, right? But in little places where we live, once there's a kill, there's only a few people going in to take a bite. Um, so yeah,
Listen, I talked to a lady today who said she worked for this lawyer and that it was regular. Like if they were doing a car accident, that, okay, I don't see how this is not illegal, but she said it happens every day. She says, okay, so you have a lawyer. He's representing this person that just had this car wreck. So the insurance company is gonna give him 50,000 for himself if he will only sue them on behalf of this client for 20 grand. So he's getting this 50 grand chunk or however much the insurance company is giving him. And then they give this client 20 grand, which he takes 6,000 of for legal fees and gives the client 12 grand or however much
yeah,
for it. And then he just came out with, is that not like extortion or
that
something? You
that
can't
does
do,
sound.
that's not, you're selling out your client. And she said, oh, well, honey, we do that every day. She said, we'd go to lunch. Their lawyer and us would go to meet for lunch and we'd figure out what the best for us was. And then they'd go sell it to their client and we'd go sell it to our clients. Like we've been out just fighting and fighting and fighting for you. She said, but we just sat and had lunch and figured out how we were gonna do this.
Hmm.
That don't sound right. And you get in a little small town like this, you were giving out all those numbers. Okay, so in a county, say 20,000 here in Letcher County, and you've got maybe 5 people that have a law license who can
Right.
practice law.
Yeah.
You don't have nowhere else to go. So I've heard several people, a couple different lawyers say that they came from like Florida, came from Michigan, they come from these big states down into these little areas because they know there ain't no lawyers here. They can get all the work, they can get all the money, and you don't even have to be a good lawyer.
Wow.
It's
We
just,
could go we could go on for hours, Elizabeth, and
I
believe
know, I'm
me, I'm
sorry.
tempted. Thanks for coming on. Guys, if you have not subscribed to Elizabeth, you're coming up on 21,000 subscribers, I noticed. You're like at 20.8, less than
Yeah, something.
200 people away. I don't know if people understand just how much you have to hustle on YouTube to do what you do. It's a hustle. She's doing good work. If you have not subscribed to her and you think that she deserves it, please go over and do that. Thanks for coming on, Elizabeth. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
We'll
Gish.
see ya. Hey, guys, let me hide all the lower thirds. Just quick plug. Baby Gavin is missing. He needs your help to find him. Go to the link in the description below. 2, hang out with us on the Fish Tank on Facebook if that is your thing. 3, if you go to my website, there's a support tab. I can show you this. I should show you this. There's a support tab. Head on over there. Scroll on down. These are all the ways that you can support me, but you guys are supporting me enough. Take care of my lead moderator, Autumn, right? If you think that she deserves it. No pressure, no pressure, but it is there. And then remember that we've got our swag store chock full of fun stuff. I do have somebody who has volunteered to be a new designer to help me do more stuff, but we've got cool swag on the website. With that, I shall bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.